is the College Football Connection podcast with Marty Jenkins and Alvin Reid on 101 ESPN.
Championship Saturday, portal intrigue, coaches on the chopping block, and that's to not even say anything so far about an interesting set of CFP rankings to boot. Greetings, everybody, and welcome into it is Week 15 of the College Football Connection, only on the 101 ESPN YouTube channel, plus 101ESPN.com. We are psyched. We are ready to go for championship weekend and so many other topics surrounding the college gridiron. Marty Jenkins, Alvin, Reid, I am Bradford Bruns. Guys, first and foremost, how was the Thanksgiving for each one of you? Maybe it didn't entail quite as much snow as that with which I had to contend, but it's great to be back regardless.
I thought about you down there, man. I did, as I was set comfortably in my house, watching KU get whooped. But that's all right, man. I'll take my 5 and 7. Yeah, man, had a great Thanksgiving. My daughter and her husband drove up to Green Bay on Thanksgiving morning, went to the game.
That's right.
On Thanksgiving night. So
First
we
time?
did it on Wednesday. Yeah, he's the big Packers fan. So
they rolled
really
in that
enjoyed
game, and then they won pretty
they
easily.
beat Miami pretty easily.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, it was great. It was great.
Mine was good. Put on about 7 or 8 pounds. Hung out with the family. Watched some football, and yes, I was thinking about you as well. Tell us about that down there. Set the scene with the snow.
Well, I'll tell you what. First of all, I am so grateful for the fact that the fam and we left well in advance, and boy, was that ever beneficial, because typically it takes about 2 hours to access Columbia from our stomping grounds. Double that and then add some, because the commute into mid-Missouri, we already had several inches on the ground, gentlemen, and that was several hours before I arrived prior to kickoff. So let me tell you, though, the grounds crew, everybody responsible there at Furrow Field to get the field in even somewhat of a tolerable condition. It was terrific, because that game kicked off legitimately at 2:35 p.m., and that was on the heels of all the Senior Day festivities. So something I won't soon forget. First snow game, first time since 1998, frankly. That Columbia has had that much snow, or even a remotely close figure to that. That was back in Colorado. Yes, when Colorado came to town. So to see the senior class, all 17 of them, or 27 for that matter, actually, I'm already thinking about signing day specifics, to go out on that note. I know that it's a 9-3 regular season campaign. I know it doesn't necessarily wash away some of the, stench per se pertaining to not qualifying for the CFP, but a lot of special things were taken in that afternoon and this week, actually, as a matter of fact. And we're going to get into our 4-pack of championship matchups here in just a couple of minutes. But MU regionally on the local front, when you're talking about inking that 17-person recruiting class, freshmen to be 10 different individuals, guys coming from out of state, 4 top 100 signees as well. So a lot of noise, a lot of concrete evidence that you would hope behooves the program moving forward. But as you have so many other contributors coming in, you have someone going out as well. As last Saturday, for the final time, we did indeed see Luther Burden III for the last time as a Tiger on the playing surface. He has declared for the NFL draft. So I thought that Eli Drinkwitz actually had some very interesting remarks concerning the overall impact, the legacy left by LB3, and I wanted to actually play those for you as we get started today.
The story of Luther Burden's not going to be the one catch that if he doesn't make today, we don't win. It's going to be the monumental decision he made to come to the University of Missouri when nobody else thought he should. And his trajectory to change the program, as much as these seniors, for Luther Burden to choose to come here, for him to work to prove that he's the best player on the team, for us to make the play versus Oklahoma on 3rd and 16, or the first play in overtime versus Vanderbilt, or the 4th down catch versus South Carolina, or the 4th and 17 versus Florida. There's numerous plays. He's one of the best players, if not the best player to ever come to the University of Missouri. And for him to make that decision, change the trajectory of my career in our program. And so that's what's going to be remembered about Luther Burden. I'm not worried about today's game. This is a legacy deal. Same thing with a lot of different players. I mean, there was 6 inches of snow today. Like, you're not always going to be able to figure out how to do some of those things. So That's not the story. The story is the legacy that he leaves the University of Missouri by choosing to come here, and I'm super proud of him.
Now, the statistics were certainly down in his junior campaign. We understand that, but you can't take away what was a banner sophomore season. And Alvin, for more context as well, the decision that was made more than 3 years ago really did, in so many different ways, altered the trajectory of the program. This is a head coach who is at times, we understand, prone to hyperbole, but now not only are so many other prep standouts from St. Louis, from across the river, targeting Missouri, but it has certainly played into the national attention as well. And so we can look back through the record books and we can see what the output is at the end of the day. But the overall impact on the program is not to be denied.
You know, during the season, I said, like, folks were being too hard on Missouri. I think y'all being a little too soft on Missouri now.
Okay.
I'm glad that they have an outstanding, recruiting class. They got guys coming in that maybe they wouldn't have gotten before. I don't think they got enough out of Luther Burden. I wrote about this week. I don't see how you regress your third year out of college when you were just a dominant figure your sophomore season. It's not up on the website yet, but the quote he had about it was not always roses, and he, shouted out his receivers coach for, being on him, and he said, like, it wasn't a bed of roses and all this, and I'm still wondering what the hell was going on down there. I still have question marks about that.
We've been saying that for a minute.
I told you this, that internal thing that Jenkins said. Something.
Yeah.
Something, and I don't know what it is. And he named, the 5 plays he named. Those were the 5 plays. Okay, all right.
That was it.
That's what we talking. Travis Hunter about to win the Heisman Trophy. Dude's doing this. Dude's doing that. Now he'll be the number 1 receiver, probably drafted.
Yes.
Okay.
Top
all
10
right.
maybe.
Right. But I mean, I think this time next year, folks could be easy saying we need a new coach. That's all I'm saying.
So you're taking your Justin Gage, your Jeremy Maclin, and you're saying in the annals of MU football history, maybe LB3 isn't in that distinct
No,
spot.
he isn't, because Maclin played 2 years and finished with 50 more yards receiving. They were the number 1 team in the country.
True.
Going in to play Oklahoma, lost the Big 12 championship game. But after
Glory
days.
days.
They were the number 1 team in the country. Okay? That was the high mark of Missouri football, and technically in like my lifetime. All right. Well, maybe not, because we're going back to like 68, 69. I was alive. I'm not hating on Missouri. I'm just saying that, okay, let's see where Missouri is this time next year.
Because
That's
the top 25 recruiting class, that's one matter. Okay, great. In 4 of Drinkwitz's last 5 years, you have accomplished that according to X number of sources. But the win-loss record back in the Daniel Maclin days, that was another plane.
Right. Exactly. And is, was Brady Cook, I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Brad Smith. Let's go through.
No, the quarterback was Eric Maclin.
Chase.
Oh, Chase.
Yeah, Chase. All right, Chase Daniel. No, and that combination was really something special. But somehow or the other, all those 3 stars and 4 stars and 2 stars got out there and got the job done
Number
for
1 in the nation.
Gary Pinkel. All right. I just think I'm keeping an eye on Missouri next year, because I'm not ready to put them in the upper echelon of the SEC, i.e. the upper echelon of the country, just yet.
I like the angle. I like both of your guys' takes. In terms of his, career, the legacy at Missouri, I see where you're coming from. I look at it more of just kind of short term now, him going there a few years ago, and getting more in-state guys to go there, showing that the NIL, you could be very prosperous down there in Como.
And that has changed since he went there. Now it's about
declared.
You can't get paid.
No question.
So on that front, I think, it's obviously huge that he did go there. I didn't know they were one website's got him 18th. I didn't know they were 19th in this class. That's pretty good for Missouri.
No, that's great for Missouri.
Great for Missouri. Now, you're an SEC school, a lot of SEC schools. I also want to see where they go from here, and that's going to be very important the next year or two. I like both of your guys' points, but, man, they got a ton of 4 stars. Didn't get a 5-star, but they got a ton of 4 stars. I like what they've done. Luther showed you could do it in Como in terms of NIL and all that
Yes.
jazz. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
And you flipped a couple of big guys, specifically Hilson at the last minute.
Right.
And that is a defensive line. You want to talk about a position that has absolutely been able to breed success at the next level. It has been the defensive line for MU over the last decade. Seriously, look at all of just the gauntlet of names there. So it's intriguing. It'll be something to which we are paying more and more attention, obviously, as we move along. But
And Hilson picked them over, like, I think Michigan and Texas maybe and some other big names. So
some blue bloods.
Huge.
Yes.
Right.
Sorry to interrupt.
Top 25. When they kick the ball off next year, where's Missouri?
Oh,
How much are you going to pay for a signal caller?
Well, okay. All right.
They're out there
You
now.
know, that's a good point.
Yeah.
We don't know who the quarterback
I
is.
think
so
they'll be
let's-
in the top 25.
I think they'll be in the top
Yes,
25.
yes.
I'm just saying that I wonder where. But you make a good point. It's hard for us to say if you don't have a quarterback, you're in the lower half. If you do have a quarterback, maybe you're in the upper half.
That is the question. They've been great at sealing the borders, whether you're talking about the portal, whether you're talking about the sheer recruiting stage. So that is first and foremost. And then not allowing guys as well, not having that enticing opportunity to go elsewhere. Because if you enter Mizzou as a freshman or transfer coming in as a junior for that matter, the opportunity to play right away has been there. That has certainly been true of everything Drinkwitz has promised.
We have no idea what's going to transpire, the next few months in the offseason, who they're going to get, what they're going to shell out money-wise. But I'll tell you this, they damn sure better be in the top 25 when the season kicks off next year.
I don't see how they could not be based upon the record this year, and I don't think you could propel a lot of teams past them just based on who they recruited.
Yeah.
Although South Carolina was unranked when the season started.
Yep.
Where will Florida be when the season starts? They seem to have got their act together a little bit.
Just never know. Out of conference, Arizona State was picked to finish last in the conference.
Right, good point.
Bingo.
Right.
A team that wasn't even remotely close
Yeah.
to the top 25 prior to the beginning of the season. And this is indeed our first featured matchup of the day. Championship weekend is ahead. Marty, you touched upon it. The Arizona State Sun Devils, the beginning of the season. You were talking about a team mired at the bottom of the preseason poll, Big 12 style. And look at this squad now. Robust record of late, 5 straight victories, the majority of which have come by decisive margins. Iowa State, for that matter, as well, not to be trifled with either. So we have a nice number 16 versus number 15 matchup at 11 a.m. sharp for the Big 12 championship. Now, Iowa State has been much more susceptible in recent weeks after getting off to a gangbusters-ish start. 7-0, the defense was sublime, only allowing 14 points per game, but down the stretch, guys. 3-2 finish. All right, struggled at times to be able to really orchestrate a downfield passing attack versus Kansas State, came up with the victory, but the D has allowed twice as many points basically over the course of the last 5 games per contest. Arizona State comes in on a roll offensively, but still favored by a number of just 1.5. This game is in Arlington, the big time.
Jerry's World, baby.
Jerry's World. The Cyclones, they'll have a bazillion fans there, probably 3 times as many as Arizona State. They don't travel. I like Iowa State in this one. I do.
Okay.
I think they get their stuff back together. And I'm not saying that Kansas was all that, but when they played Kansas was playing really, really, really well.
Right.
And, they went through that little buzzsaw period with BYU and then Iowa State, BYU, then Colorado. It just they were a tough team at that time. Could not take it down to Baylor. I think they left it all on the field against Colorado. Got killed. All right, but I think Iowa State is better than Arizona State, and I think Iowa State covers. I do think some points will be scored because middle of winter time, and it's Arizona State. You're playing on a grass field. It's beautiful all the time. But I think Iowa State will be so happy to be playing in a dome stadium. Saturday at 11 o'clock. I think they bring a little bit more offense with them, too. So I think we're going on the over, too, on that 50.5.
Yeah, that whether it's 49.5, 50.5, Marty, what are you feeling as far as the high-octane offense is on display here?
Well, I think, first off, this started as the Cyclones, being favored by 1.5, I saw. So that's flipped 3 points. Now they're getting 1.5.
Yes.
But I love the Cyclones. I think Jordan Tyson being out is just going to be way too much for them to overcome. And on the offensive side, I think, or the defensive side, the Cyclones, I think they're going to give Levitt just all he can handle. He's a redshirt freshman. I just see him struggling big time in this matchup. And on the other end, I see the Cyclones scoring a lot of points. I, as well, going to mess with Alvin, and I'm going with the Cyclones in the over.
I can't deny what Arizona State in particular has done of late, and I'm not dismissing either, Marty, what you mentioned there about Tyson being out at wide receiver. That definitely throws a wrench into what you would like to do with the redshirt freshman quarterback in this setting. By the same token, this is a very experienced, large offensive line for Arizona State, and when in doubt, run the football consistently, establish that run, because Arizona State's lead back, the only Genty in the entire conference, in that entire mix actually, has more 150-yard plus games this season. That is wholly impressive, but equally impressive, the fact that the Cyclones come into this tilt boasting the only pair of 1,000-yard wideouts in the entire nation, too. Will this Sun Devils secondary be able to stay in front and prevent the big chunk gains? I can't go away, though. I cannot go away from how well Arizona State has been moving the football of late. Yes, by a field goal or so, but this, to me, guys, this is a game that smacks of high 50s. I really feel way into the second half, because I'm not sure if the respective defenses can do a lot to stop these attacks.
And it's not an exhibition game, but it's like I said, the conference championship game.
Yeah.
I just think it'll be a little more wheeling and dealing, high flying than your regular Big 12. I think most conference championships are like that.
They travel from Ames, huh?
Oh, please. They were all over in Kansas City, you know. Like
Three quarters, Jerry's World.
Yeah, I probably so. I bet you they have 35,000 people down there.
Jeez.
Man, that's not a bad trip. I mean, they come to Kansas City all the time. You just keep driving south. You're there, you know.
Right.
No, they'll be there. They've had time to prepare. They'll have a huge following down there.
Once again, in Atlanta, in the ATL, in Georgia, you have the number 5 Bulldogs and, of course, the number 2 Texas Longhorns. Right now, the Longhorns favored by just 2.5 in the SEC championship affair to be contested there in the Dirty South. So it's maybe a 2-hour drive for the Bulldogs faithful, maybe to get there to that particular venue.
And a ton of them live in Atlanta anyway.
Yeah.
49.5, that's our over-under. To me, guys, the question becomes, in this contest, this rematch from weeks and weeks ago, will Texas fall once again into that trap of basically being bowled over in the early portion of the game? Because the Bulldogs, and that hasn't happened a lot over the course of the last month or so, we understand, definitely, Georgia has been vulnerable. I don't know if for the number 2 team in the nation that Texas has looked exceedingly strong for stretches of the regular season too, but Georgia jumped out to a 23-0 lead in that first matchup this year, sacked Ewers 5 times, forced Texas to drop back 49 occasions overall. And let me tell you, Marty, if you're giving me the suggestion, you're giving me the news that left tackle for Texas, the big stud Kelvin Banks Jr., he's dealing with an ankle ailment and he's compromised somewhat. No, you've got to be able to establish the ground. You don't want to put Ewers, especially with how he has played at times post-injury, in that vulnerable of a predicament.
Well, you mentioned Banks, which is obviously huge. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, if he's going to play or not. You mentioned the home game for Georgia. And then you look at that line. We got that one line every week, man. They're favored by 3, the Longhorns. You know the reason they're favored by 3? And I won't forget this. Alvin said it in week 1. And the fact that they're still here surprises me at number 5. But Carson Beck, you do not know what you're going to get there. I do not trust him.
Oh, he rebounded versus Tennessee nicely.
He did rebound versus Tennessee nicely, but I'm looking at the overall frame of work here from him this season. And, you know, a lot of these games, and the reason they're number 5 is not him. He's turnover prone.
Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
I wish they had lost that game just because I was upset. The whole SEC and dominating the 12 in the college football playoff would have been tossed out of the window because you can't put both Georgia and Alabama in.
All 12 of his picks essentially came over a 7-game span.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah.
I think I really like Texas in this one, and I like the under. The under is my lock of the week, so give me the Longhorns and the under.
I think Georgia beats them. I do. I think when this game is over, it won't be a blowout. And I'm also on the under, Marty.
Okay.
But it won't be a blowout. But I think people will be wondering, like, why? Tell me again why Texas is ranked where they are. Tell me again why Texas is supposed to be all of that.
Okay.
Because you played this team and they beat you twice. Where's your other shining star?
I wonder how far they dropped to.
You know, yeah. Where's your other shining star win? You know, I don't know.
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Yeah, that's right. Tennessee.
I suppose. which doesn't look as good now as it did weeks ago in my estimation.
Who, I'm sorry?
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Oh, I thought you said another
No, he
team.
said it does look it's good now.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yep.
Not really.
But they'll be in there. They're an SEC team.
Yeah, no, they'll be in because right. I mean, and but I think Georgia. I think Georgia covers, and the fact that Georgia's actually getting points, Georgia covers.
The complexion changes for me a bit insofar as ETN is going to be available by all accounts. So is Georgia going to be able to lean on its ground attack to that much more of an extent? I liked what I saw finally at long last from Beck just a week ago, but as opposed to the first time around, when I was definitely rolling with those dogs here, I do believe that Texas has a lot to prove in its own right. And I appreciate as well, on a side note here, how well that Sark and Smart have been playing nicely, during the course of the week. That doesn't apply to Bevo, I guess, but he's not allowed. Bevo's not allowed on the premises. But speaking of running amok there, I think that Georgia is going to be able to integrate ETN back into the proceedings nicely in the first half. But the sheer physicality and speed of Texas on that side of the football, I think it's going to come to play to a much better degree this time around. Texas by 2.5, Texas by 3. I will go with the Longhorns by a touchdown, second half style, but that total of 49.5 over under, I'll go low as well. So make it a clean sweep, sweep in that regard. I think, though, all of us would agree that that one has the potential to be much more enticing to whet our beak for the evening slate, more so than the Big Ten game. With all due respect, on the fast track inside Lucas Oil, Penn State, you think Penn State has a shot versus the number 1 team in the nation in Oregon?
Oregon's only favored by 3.5.
Which I don't understand at all.
That's one of those things you think they should be favored by 10.
All right, you finish and then I'll go. All right.
I think there's going to be lots of points here. I think the key matchup is going to be that Penn State secondary against the 2 speedy receivers from Oregon. And I think Oregon's receivers win that battle. And I think we see a lot of points in this one. But on the other end, with Singleton, the 2-headed monster, I think they run the ball as well. And I think Penn State can score some points here. I see, upper 20s to mid 20s as a final. And I could see Oregon winning this one, by a field goal. But I'm going to take Penn State in the over.
I'm going to take Penn State in the over as well.
Yes,
because
no.
here's the problem. I think here's that 3.5. Okay. What is Oregon's motivation in this game? They really don't have any. I mean, all right.
You don't
I
want
know
to put
you're
your
trying
foot off the gas, so you just want to.
I understand, but it's human element. Okay.
Yeah.
And the object here now is to win the national championship. You've been number 1 since September?
Mm-hmm.
So what now? Okay, so we come into the college football playoff. We're not number 1. Who cares? Let's go win the championship. I think I wonder what Oregon's motivation is.
Gabriel has to snare that Heisman back from the clutches of Hutcher. It's over.
Right. So I think Penn State is going to cover that 3.5.
Wow.
I do. I'm not declaring that Penn State is going to win. By the way, we were all over Michigan covering, and none of us had the balls to say that Michigan was actually going to win that football game. And we look back and said, man, that money line was outrageous. That's what people out there made some cash. Right.
I still can't believe what we watched.
Yeah. All right. So I think Penn State covers. All right. Oregon might have to kick a field goal at the end, win by a couple of points.
They're not going to win though. Franklin's not going to get over that hump.
I think he could. I'm not declaring that, though.
Okay.
Right. I think he could, just because I don't think Oregon's going to bring their A game. I don't.
I agree with you.
I'm staying away from the over-under. I will declare, however, this one is going to be a rout. Mark it down right now.
All right.
Oregon takes care of business, and Marty, as much as I want to side with you on that point of clearly Penn State, the MO here, the methodology is to attempt to establish the ground game with Singleton and with Allen. But the fact of the matter is that in the last matchup against one of the prohibitive best teams in the country in Columbus, you wanted to attempt to do the same thing, or rather in Happy Valley, you wanted to exert the same amount of pressure against the Buckeyes. And how did that work out? It ended up being a matter of Drew Aller running for his life in the first half on a bum lower body injury, and that tandem never was able to get on track. I think much the same plan is going to be rolled out here because if there's one aspect of the Oregon defense that I really embrace and that I like, for which I advocate, it's the defensive line. How do you actually expose Oregon? It's through the air defensively. But I have not seen Alvin over the last few weeks really post Ohio State, to be honest, post that blow up in the second half, much in the way of innovation, much in the way of originality or creativity from Andy Koltonicki. Even at times, Warren has been sidelined. So what changes here to, change my mind?
I think
I love Warren.
I'm telling you, my whole thing is that I don't think Oregon will play that well.
They ain't gonna get hyped up for it.
Right. That's all. I mean, should Oregon cover 3.5 against Penn State? Yes, they should. And I'm saying that they won't because I just don't think they're going to play their best game.
Like, when's that CFP start?
Yes, exactly. Right. And we're going to have to, yeah.
I agree. I can see pieces of that. I totally can.
I think that James will get the job done on the ground for Oregon versus the PSU front. I feel differently about this one. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. We shall see. That is one of two premier night games, and the second one take us to the land of the ACC, specifically Charlotte, with which, guys, Clemson is exceedingly familiar. They know this destination, of course, yes, for the Tigers. Their 7 of the past 9 ACC title games have been claimed by Clemson, and yet you have many different chinks in the armor now. I would contend that you have had those throughout this particular campaign. South Carolina has been fabulous, but I don't know if that many people believed in that spot for Clemson last weekend, that the Gamecocks would stay hot, take care of business versus Clemson. And here, I'm very intrigued to see how the quarterback play ultimately determines this game, because Cade once again coughed it up in the interception department late last weekend, whereas Kevin Jennings for SMU, as we're talking about the Mustangs and the Tigers, SMU all the way up to number 8 and favored by 2.5 in Charlotte in a game whose over-under is 55.5. A lot of points expected in that one. Jennings has been 9-0 for SMU since he took over the starting role in week number 3. He has been exceedingly dependable. He gives you the option as just a sophomore of being able to open it up. This is such a versatile offensive attack, guys. I know that Clemson has the pedigree, that Clemson knows the terrain here, but I'm rolling with the Mustangs, and I'm loving the Mustangs here.
This is just a prove it to me for the Mustangs. And I hate to give up a pick, kind of, because I'm kind of doing that with Penn State, because I'm thinking on the motivation level for Oregon. But all right, SMU, you've proved it to the nation, but you have to prove it to Alvin. And Alvin says that Clemson just wins because it's too close to Clemson. It's like an ACC, like, kind of home game. And this is where SMU is new to the ACC. So I'm going with Clemson. Mm-hmm. And once again, they just have to cover. They don't have to necessarily win, but I think they will win.
Okay.
In this game, clouding further who's going to be the 12 teams, in the playoff when Clemson wins, especially if Clemson wins convincingly. But I do think I think Clemson covers. For some reason, I'm going with the under. Okay. I just think I think we'll look up, the score will be like 10-7, something like that, midway through the second quarter. And then points will be scored, but I don't think that they won't get up to that 55-5.
It's a big number for a conference championship game. Big number.
Yeah.
Another game that's moved damn near 3 points. Clemson opened it at 1.5, and they're getting 2 at home.
Yeah, pretty much.
Essentially.
55.5. That's going upwards. I think we're going to have a lot of points in this one. Clemson's their run defense it's horrific. And I think SMU, they forced a lot of turnovers. I think that theme continues. I think Burchard's going to have a big game. I really think this prove-it moment, I just don't like this Clemson team. I think SMU actually rolls in this game.
And I was just going to say, SMU could smoke Clemson.
I think it could happen.
All right. I don't think Clemson could run away from SMU, but I do think that SMU could run away from Clemson. One of the best lines I heard was, like, Clemson got the money, Clemson got the players. All Clemson doesn't have is the name right now. And I think this might be where they say, like, you know what? We're good, and we're proving it, and nobody really wants to believe. They believe that we are in this thing because of what we accomplished in the conference this year,
and it's
which is kind of a down year in the conference. It's also a year where, like, the three teams didn't play each other. I mean, you know, when you take, like, SMU and you take Miami and Clemson, and you're thinking, like, how are they all in the mix and they didn't play?
Sure.
Yeah. And I think the point you mentioned a few weeks ago, SMU, this game, it's, hey, we're here now. We're at the party. We've arrived. We got the big boys lined up, the donors in line.
Right.
Get used to seeing us.
Get used to seeing us. And if they do, like I said, they go out there and put one on Clemson,
Nation goes
the odds of them winning the national championship will skyrocket. It will not be, they won't be the favorite. But all of a sudden, people will be saying, like, you know what, SMU could fool around.
Throw a little coin on
Yeah,
it.
like I say, SMU could fool around.
Go on a run.
Yeah. This
right.
defense is so exciting and opportunistic to boot. When you think about the 21 turnovers forced, when you think about the plus 77 point differential or margin off of the turnovers forced, it's not just about the offensive attack. But I'm really interested to see how this one plays out. Now, let's say that it does get flipped, though. The experience, the veteran-laden core, maybe the overall physicality of Clemson seizes the day. We know that in that sense, obviously, you're talking about an automatic qualification from a CFP standpoint. Is Clemson one of the 12 best? Would you have Clemson situated among the big boys in your permutation?
No, I would not.
No way.
Same.
I mean, that's basically what I said.
That's a hard no.
We saw them play enough games, and then they capped that off with the South Carolina game. No.
And by the way, they're 25 to 1 right now.
Oof. SMU is?
Yeah, they roll SMU.
Okay.
They roll in this one, cut that number in half.
Oh, yeah. Now
12 to 1.
12 to 1. Absolutely.
So scratch Clemson from the equation, and let's bring in the next blue blood. You guys are going to love this one. Let's spin it forward a bit and talk about the next set, maybe the last batch of the CFP rankings. But right here, right now, as it stands, if everything were to end prior to our picks, which we just have made on the College Football Connection on 101 ESPN, the YouTube channel, and 101ESPN.com, don't look now, but oh so curiously, Alabama finds itself right there in the mix. If it were all to conclude right here, right now, with the 3 losses into a pair of also-rans in the grand scheme of things, Alvin, I yield the floor to you.
That Notre Dame will beat them like they stole something if they go up there. I'm sorry. They will you're talking about planting flags. They're going to plant Milrow like one of them flags. Like, Alabama's not very good. I'm not saying they suck, but come on. That loss to Oklahoma.
This is not a playoff worthy team.
24-3. Like, no.
But I will say on the other end of that, though, and I don't think they should be in right now, but that 24-3 loss, and listen, I hate Alabama, you know, the SEC, all that jazz. Miami should be in my opinion, overall resume. But on the other end of that, Alabama could go out there and hang 50 on any team in the country.
I don't think so. I don't, man. I do not.
Not at this stage.
Not at this stage.
I think they could turn it on like they did, and I think they're a team that could get hot. I worry about Notre Dame playing them, and I see Notre Dame losing that game.
But when at any point in this season has Alabama demonstrated that classic killer instinct? That's the difference.
The Georgia game is what I think of, and I think that team is still deep in there.
Okay. I don't. I don't. I think they
that
showed.
Ship has sailed.
Yes, I do. I think they showed against Oklahoma that they are just beyond beatable. I think other teams have improved steadily as the season has gone on. I don't think Alabama can say that. I think they have sporadic to downright bad quarterback play for large parts of every game. No,
people are still all over them, betting on them to win the national title.
The only reason they're in because they go, oh yeah, Alabama's going to win the national title.
By default.
Did you watch them play? Right. I mean, seriously. All right, they put a beat down on Missouri. Okay, now let's start going through. Who exactly did you beat, and who exactly did you lose to? Vandy 6-6, Oklahoma 6-6. Who else got them?
Ole Miss.
Was it? I had to go back and look. But it wasn't somebody who, like, man, Alabama played on the road against the number 2 team in the nation and lost by 3 points. No. The only reason Alabama's in is because they're Alabama. And that's not good enough now. That's not good enough to beat that Irish team that USC put up a fight was able to have some offense.
Entertaining game.
Very entertaining game.
Into the second half. I
All right.
wasn't entirely wrong.
Well, yeah.
Is that Ole Miss? Yeah,
All right.
Ole Miss was the other one.
Ole Miss, who lost to that last
Kentucky?
that last loss.
Stoops.
Come on.
You're not sold on
I
Alabama
am not
at
sold on
all.
not at all. I think I think because I was looking at this, I said like, now I'll tell you what. Everybody wanted to see Miami go back to Notre Dame for the first time since Catholic First Conference. I mean, come on now. Everybody wants to see that. Everybody wants to see no tired Alabama go up there and get ran over, which I think is exactly what's going to happen.
Hey, man, you want to talk about an expensive ticket for that one?
Oh, yeah, because everybody in the world is going to want to be there. But nonetheless, I mean, Notre Dame sells out all the games anyway. But, I mean, I think if you're Notre Dame, you say, like, I'd rather play that Alabama team than that Miami team, especially that Miami team that was up 21-0 against Syracuse. Let's say they had just put a beat down on, beat them 55-20 or something like that. Miami would be favored in that game, maybe. All right, but Alabama won't. That spread will be 5.5, 6 points.
In South Bend?
Yes.
Oh, no, it'll be a pick 'em.
All right.
It'll be 1-2 points.
Okay. It won't, man. It won't.
Hey, speaking real quick of the SMU thing getting cut in half if they win with a long shot, and we'll go back to the Alabama thing in a second, but I was looking at the odds. Would you take like a $5-10 flyer on the Hoosiers are 55-1?
Well, yeah.
With that high flying.
Oh, yeah,
offense?
$10, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are the ones.
55-1.
Right. Yeah, like $10. I wouldn't put $100 on it, even though that'd be a great payday. But, yeah, I mean, they might win a game.
Yeah.
And then if you win a game, who knows where you go from there? Because they don't recede either. Keep in mind, if it's kind of like, you don't recede. If we win a game and somebody else wins that isn't supposed to, we'll fool around, be playing some game against somebody we're favored to win, even though we're beyond the first round tournament.
Sprinkle a little Signetti Rourke magic on that.
Yeah,
see
there
it.
you go.
I could see it. A magical season. Wanted to get your thoughts as well really quickly. There's a reason as to why we're not spotlighting, per se, Boise State and UNLV.
Yeah.
At the time of our recording, that game is to unfold in just a few hours. But we're not sold on Alabama. We have established that, provided that Boise State is able to capture its conference championship of the Mountain West variety. Good story for Barry Odom, no doubt about it. Running Rebels have had to overcome some adversity and a little bit of outside noise this season to get to this particular point. But how are we feeling about Genty and company if this crew can seal the deal and secure its spot in the CFP? Number 10 right now, what are we thinking?
I'm thinking that the Boise State-Oregon game is, in a way, like the Notre Dame Northern Illinois game, that it was just so long ago that I can't put everything into that as much as I did back in September. So I think Notre Dame proved that that was really just a blip on the screen. And I think if Oregon played Boise State again, they beat them by 3 touchdowns. So that's the team that I think is coming into the playoff, that Boise State team. So I don't think they're going to do anything at all except get beat.
I want to see the matchup.
Yeah.
I
I think they'll lose to whoever they match up against.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with that one. Like, for example, let's say they could hang with like a Penn State, I think.
No, I don't.
No.
No.
Arizona State?
Nope.
Nope. Nobody.
Nope.
I think Boise State could win a game. Bradford, do you agree?
If you have a tough physical defense and an extremely athletic outfit at that can go sideline to sideline and somewhat minimize the contributions of a Genty, Boise State has no chance. Now, depending on the opposing side, and if he can basically get loose in a hurry from the opening jump, I think it can be a competitive affair regardless of the opponent. I want to see Boise State.
And you know what?
I'm not saying.
Yeah.
No, I want.
Yeah.
I am happy that they are in. And this is the one thing, as disappointed we may be with Alabama being in, the fact that Boise State doesn't have to climb the Empire State Building to be even included in, because they would not make the Final Four if we just had 4 teams. And that's the beauty of the 12. So I can't be mad, but I don't see a matchup that Boise State can win once the real deal starts.
They'd host the first game. Not sure what would happen after that if they won, but you can guarantee if they played a road game, you want to talk about fans traveling, well, they'd bring the whole damn state to that campus.
That's fine.
I want to see them win.
To.
We all want to see them win, I think.
It depends. I mean, if I had a team, I would.
Like the
I would.
Cinderella.
Right. But if I'm one of these teams, and all I have to do to move on to the next round is win in Boise,
That's what you want.
that's
what you
what
would
I
pick.
want. That's yeah. And all that stuff about, did Ohio State lose on purpose? And all that crazy talk and whatnot. It's like, yeah, you know what? No, they didn't. But at the same time, we get to go to Boise and play instead of having to host like Tennessee or somebody like that.
I was watching that game and I was like, that is not a physical play. Like, you shouldn't have fell down there. You shouldn't have done this.
I
have my doubts.
Earl Austin Jr.
Yeah.
After the game, we talked, and he said, like, dude, if you go to script, how to throw a game, play calling, guys falling down at the wrong time.
To a T.
And I'm not putting that out there, NCAA or America, but he did come up with the same thing. He said, like, boy, there was a lot of, like, crazy stuff. Why you throwing the ball down there on your own 3-yard line?
Yeah.
When you were averaging at that point of the game like 7.5 yards a rush.
Suspicious
And you're
much?
Like, no, let's throw the ball out here in the flat from our own 3-yard line.
And then I completely agree with Earl. And in terms of after the game, obviously embarrassing on all fronts.
Yeah.
But Jason, Dave, what are you doing, man? Just sitting there with your popcorn.
No, I agree. And that was a poorly coached game. Now, any way you look at it, we looked at Ryan Day and said, like, man, Harbaugh had the horses. 3 years ago, toss-up, and Michigan won. I think the last 2 years, Michigan was better. But there's no reason Ohio State should have lost that game to that Michigan team. Let's get real here.
They should have won by 3 touchdowns.
On your home field, that was too much. The spread was too much. Because I said, like, man, 20, that's a knockdown, drag-out rivalry game. They ain't going to win by no 21 points. But if you like 13 to 10, all you needed was 14 points, and you would have won the game, Ohio State. I'm like, okay.
Whoever they play next, they're going to hang 30 or 40. That was scripted.
They
dude.
better.
Yeah.
Look, depending on what happens in the CFP, maybe post that conversation with North Carolina, Coach Belichick can have a conversation with the powers that be in Columbus,
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, he coaches at North Carolina like I coach at North Carolina next year.
I'd love to see you on the sidelines.
To put a button on the Boise State talk, I do want to see that blue field one more time. I don't yet know if I want to see the proceedings, though, on Sunday in Como. We're talking about the hardwood, actually, as we close it up here. KU, MU, what happened with Creighton, Alvin?
Well, like Hunter Dickinson don't want to play. When it's hard, it's not fun.
It's always about Hunter. You do not like it.
You saw that. Come on, man.
Acts 2 grind.
Yeah, Acts 2 grind.
I can't stand the guy.
Man, make it 800,000 or 650 or something like that. And that's the best you can do? Come on, man. Like, no. I think they beat Missouri. I think it's going to be closer than what people think.
So we'll have a game.
You'll have a game.
I don't think we'll have a game. Nice win for Mizzou the other night, though. But
yeah, but you come back from 18, right, man? How you down 18 to Cal? Like, yeah.
Hey, they haven't beat anybody, but they are 6-1, 6-2 now, 7-2.
Right. And the loss was against Memphis, who's had a pretty good season so far.
And what in God's name is going on at the Chaffetz?
Jackson State, a winless Jackson State team. You look up the scoreboard, there's 4 minutes left in the game. Jackson State got the lead. That's a problem.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're not a tournament team this year.
I don't know.
Any kind of tournament.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
CTI still in existence?
Because I'm thinking, like, not only is that an HBCU school, that's a bad HBCU school.
bad.
Like, whoa. Y'all, if they'd have lost that one, they may not. If they had lost that game, they might not have gotten into the NCAA tournament unless they won the conference tournament, just because that loss was so bad.
Green, you have to run the damn table.
Right. He's like, y'all lost to an 0-7 team. That's no good. I ain't talking about an 0-7 team that played all blue bloods. Was just like lambs to the slaughter getting the paycheck.
They're the bottom at the Southern
They're
Conference.
the bottom of the Southern Conference.
The extensive hoops talk will be coming around the corner. But, boys, we have a month plus to go before you know it. Well, Sunday night, as a matter of fact, we're going to get those bowl matchups. We're going to find out, hey, where is 9-1, 9-win Missouri going to be? What about Illinois?
I'd like them to play Colorado, by the way.
Citrus Bowl, perhaps love to see that.
I would love to see that.
We're going to find out all of the different combinations and the pairings, and we are going to be digging into those leading up to the first round of CFP play in the last week of December. It's going to be a blast. Have a tremendous weekend out there. As always, appreciate the watching, the listening on our YouTube channel, 101 ESPN and 101ESPN.com. Boys, dig into these matchups, and what do you say we wrap it again one more time next week, huh?
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely, man.
Appreciate
Let's do
y'all.
it. Until next time, take care, everybody.
You've been listening to the College Football Connection podcast with Marty Jenkins and Alvin Reid on 101 ESPN Sports Talk for St. Louis.